So my name is Fernanda. I don't know how much you know about me. I'm a designer based in Stockholm right now. I did my master's in experience design. I've been doing some research on designing expectations. And I have different projects that I'm working on. You are going to hear a bit about them. Since we're not so many, we're quite few, I would suggest that we make this quite open. If I say something that you're not understanding, or you can just stop me and we can debate a bit about what's happening and make it family-like. So, experience design. Usually, traditionally, design is about designing objects. It's about designing things. Furniture design, graphic design, product design. Experience design is designing of intangibles. Intangibles are things that we cannot grasp. So it's not about designing things, but it's designing things that we cannot grasp. So what are these things? They are experiences, they're systems, they're ways of how things work. It's designing how things work. I'll make this a bit more concrete. So the term was first introduced, or even I'll give you an example. If you're going to the doctor, that's an experience. The fact that you go to a certain place, that the doctor says something to you, that the nurse talks to you, that you're moving from one place to another. So that's an experience. That's something that you go through. It's something over time. There's a period of time. There's a before, there's the action, and there's a memory. If you are going to a party, how are you going to the party? How is the flow of people within the party space? How is the atmosphere? How people are feeling? Going shopping. If you go to a store and if you feel like you want to buy something or not only according to your needs, but that's also an experience. For example, but there are many others. The fact that you are here right now, this is an experience, and therefore it can be designed. So the concept was introduced firstly in an article from '98 from Joseph Pine and Gilmore, and it was "Welcome to the Experience Economy." It was the name of the article. And the tagline was, "As goods and services become commoditized, the customer experience that companies create will matter the most." So what they are trying to make us understand here is that, like everything, if you have something, it's really special, but if everyone has it, then it's not so special. It's becoming the same thing with services. They are losing importance, and people want something else, a differentiative element. I will give you a really, really simple example that they also used. What should I do here? Here? Do I click here?
Yes.
So, an example. They use baking cakes to represent the entire economic system, and how the designing of cakes has been representing economy as such. So condensed in this very simple element. So before, back in the days when there was not enough money, but there was plenty of time, mothers could actually bake the cakes for their kids. They could go and get the eggs and the flour and lose some time baking the cake. So this is the vestige of an agrarian economy, where you had the ingredients and from scratch you would build something. Then, as you start having less and less time and a bit more of money, then you just bought these pre-mixed cakes that you just add water or milk and then you have the cake. So that would be a bit more expensive, but it would save you a bit of time. So this is the more industrial economy. I should put this. As time passed, and this is actually my favorite slide in the entire presentation. As time passed, you had more and more money, and then you could just go and buy the cake that was already done. You didn't have to do anything for it, you bought it already done. But where we are now is that you don't even buy the cake. You go to some kids store, that like McDonald's, or this is Chevy Cheese, and then you hire them to organize the party, and the cake is included. So it's not about the cake anymore, it's about the party, the whole system around having the cake. That's experience economy. I will here make a graph, try to make it a bit more clear for you. So if we have So if we have two axes, here we have markets, like market as in market offers, market as in open market, people can go and just buy it in the market and accessible to everyone. And here you have premium. Premium, so as in it's more exclusive and it's a bit harder to comply. And here you have differentiated, and here you have undifferentiated. So when you have a design product, a service, or what you want it to be, is to be as differentiated as possible, which means as different from what everyone else does, because then what your offer is unique. If you make, let's say for example, if you make shoes, your shoes need to have a good design and good quality and so they will be more and more different from whatever is out there, so therefore have more value. If you make exactly the same shoes that everyone makes, then you're probably not going to be able to charge so much for it. So you want it to be differentiated. And where experience design is right now, it's right up here. Experiences are very differentiated. It's very difficult to say that your experience today is exactly the same as tomorrow. They're very unique. So it's difficult to compare, and they're premium, so they're very special. So what you have in comparing with the cakes there is that we started with extracting commodities, so there we have it. Then we moved on to making goods, making a good out of it. There we have it. And then we moved on to actually deliver a service. And now we are up here on staging experiences. An experience that is staged for people. So experiences come in the framework of the economical system is a natural extra step of how things should be working in terms of value. And why is this? Why is this happening right now? Well, one of the tendencies that I think it's quite clear for experiences has to do with prosperity. Prosperity is the fact that before, the so-called developing countries are having a faster, even faster grow than European or United States, the so-called Western countries. which is obviously something that it's very needed. It was a very unequal world where only few had access to everything and all the others had nothing. So that gap is increasingly being smaller and smaller. And countries like Russia have been having a super big economical growth. But what happens is that when we grow richer, the needs arise and we consume more in the form of intangible products, such as entertainment. If you have more money, you can go out more to the cinema and have more fun and new experiences, services, you save, you invest, you have a whole new array of possibilities that before you didn't. So before you would just be focused on products such as food, for example, and then you can actually go and explore other areas. So people start getting more worried about animal rights, for example, and they start giving importance to things that before they would not have given importance. So much of the value of intangible products of the future is not the production costs, but the knowledge behind it, product development, marketing, distribution, etc. So there will be also much bigger pressure on companies for innovation, for differentiation. So as things get more and more equal around the world, companies have a bigger pressure to be differentiated and to be unique. This is what is happening now, and it's called the knowledge economy, which is where knowledge, innovation, how to do things, has a very big importance compared to just industry, to just doing them. So it's easy to, if you have a product, to send it to be done in India, for example. But who makes the big bucks are the people that thought about it, that patented it, that own the brand. So this is where the money is being generated, not so much on the actual doing of the things. Any questions? Okay. I really like this one also. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave humans? You know, what are we playing in the middle of all this economical framework and systems, and what happens to us? And there's a very interesting article called Experimentalism, Materialism, and the Pursuit of Happiness by Leif van Boven from the University of Colorado, where he actually, you know, the Beatles song, "Money Can't Buy Me Love." Well, basically that's what science has been proving, that money cannot buy love. What money can buy is experiences that maybe will lead you to love. But there's quite a lot of research on how to buy material, material purchases. So to buy a table, to buy chairs, to buy a big flat TV, they're not so rewarding as if you buy an experience, as if you go to the theater, as if you go to the beach, as if you go with your friends for a walk and a beer and relaxing. So there are actually differences for humans on how to relate to this kind of purchases. For example, it shows that more people agreed with the statements such as, some of the most important achievements in life include acquiring material possessions, and so the people that agree on this, and that buying things gives me a lot of pleasure, are actually less satisfied with their life. They're actually more sad with their life, as if they would be a person saying, no, I don't care about buying stuff. So the people that actually care about buying stuff are more prone to be more sad. And what is it then about buying material things? What is it about buying stuff that is not so rewarding? Why is it that there's something a bit off when it comes about buying things? I'll give you three explanations. Again, here. This is me in, this was maybe 2005 or something, in a workshop in Bulgaria. So I was on that workshop working, it was a youth in action workshop about migration at risk, human trafficking, and so there were people from several different NGOs, and we were there for 1 week to discuss these problems, etc. And this workshop, it was horrible. You have no idea how bad it was. Everything that happened. So one of the participants, she was on drugs, and then one of the nights she started hallucinating and going onto the street and doing stuff, and we had to go and follow her and try to make her calm down, and then she wouldn't. We actually had to call the police to bring her home. The police had to bring her. It was a mess. There were 2 people in this workshop that had food poisoning, that had to go to the hospital. And then when we were coming back from the workshop, this was in the mountains somewhere, we lost the train that would make the connection with the airport. It was horrible, let me tell you. It was like a series of crazy coincidences. But the funny thing is that now when I meet these people, you know, we just laugh so hard about what happened, because it was so crazy. It was like, you know, how is it possible? And, you know, remember this person and that person. And so we just have a really good time remembering. And that's one of the things about experiences, which is even if you have a really bad experience, with time, it tends to get better. Of course, we're not talking about trauma, war, but if it's an experience, something that happened to you in a period of time, like a trip, for example, as time passes, it's more likely that you're going to have fond memories of it than to keep the bad feelings that you had at that moment. So that's something about experiences. Whenever they are unpleasant, time tends to make them better. Another thing about experiences is you can't really do this with experiences. You can map down, when you're going to buy something physical, like a tablet, you can map down all the qualities, how many inches, and screen, and memory, and RAM, and all this. But you can't really do this with experiences. You can say, oh, I liked that party more than the party last week, but it's very hard to put it in the table and say why. Oh, I wasn't feeling so well, I had something in my stomach, or, you know, maybe I didn't meet so many friends, but it's really hard to compare them. So which means that, let's say that I want to buy a tablet, and I buy, let's say for example, I buy this tablet here, and then I get home, I'm really happy with my tablet, I open it up, and then I look and I find out that my neighbor has a better tablet, has something else, has a tablet that is bigger than mine, the screen or something, you know, and then you feel fun. Maybe I should have bought that one. Or it's easier after you buy something physical to compare it to what others have, and therefore feel a bit less satisfied. But if you take a trip to the Caribbean, and your neighbor took a trip to Thailand, they're both fun. It's not like, oh, he went to Thailand and I went to the Caribbean. No, I still went to the Caribbean. It was still fun. It was still a good thing. So there's something about experiences that makes them really hard to compare. And therefore, the satisfaction that you have, it's most likely to be maintained, even if other people also have something. There's a really good study. I will try to explain, because I think it's a really good one. I'll try to explain. So, there was a study, and they asked people, what would you prefer? If you would prefer to have a yearly income of $50,000 and then other people would get $50,000, and then other people would get $25,000. other people around you, or if you would prefer to get $100,000 and then other people would get $200,000. And they were telling people that this was, you know, a hypothetical situation. There's no market change. It's just a moment right now. What do you prefer right now? And most people prefer, although this is twice the amount, this is twice as this one, they would still prefer this, because that would mean they would make more money than others. Absolutely speaking, they prefer to make more money than others, than to make more money themselves and having others making more money also. But then, and this is the interesting twist, they ask the same people on vacation, if you have 2 weeks of vacation and then other people have 4 weeks of vacation, sorry, 1 week of vacation, so you have more than the others. Or if you want to have more vacation, 4 weeks of vacation, while the others actually have 8 weeks of vacation. And then people said that they would prefer to have 4 weeks of vacation. So when it comes to money, people prefer to have less money themselves, as long as the others also have less, even less than you. But when it comes to vacation, they prefer to have more vacation, even if that means that other people have more vacation also. So basically what this says is that when it comes to experiences, you are not really so interested in how much the others have. What you want is to have more. You're more focused on yourself. You're more focused on what you're actually going to be doing, on your own experience. If others have more experience, in this case more vacation, you know, good for them. But it's not the same thing with the money. So there's something about material goods that is very easy to compare, but not with experiences. So if you make more and you're happy. And if others make even more, then you're happy. But if your neighbor has a bigger screen in his tablet, then it's not so nice. So then it's easier to compare. And also, last but not least, research shows that you're more likely, whenever you hear about experiences, if people are talking about experiences, you're more likely to think that on a social level, that you're not going to be alone, but that you're going to be with other people. And that's something that people really value. So an experience of going shopping can be quite individual, but it can be quite a lot of fun if you bring your friends over, right? I mean, you go with your girls and you go shopping and then you're trying out stuff and you're making funny things and trying funny hats and then it's fun. So there is a big contrast between doing things alone and doing things with people. And that's something that adds a lot of value. And traditionally, spending money on experiences may portray the consumer as more open socially. If you are a person that likes experiences, you're perceived as being more open. If you like to go to the theater, to the cinema, to hang out with friends, etc. There's actually a very negative stereotype in another study, also from Van Boven. And this is a very good tip if you guys are dating, if you have friends that are dating. So they had 2 interview groups. In one interview group, people were only supposed to talk about material purchases. So you'd meet someone and then you'd start, okay, you know, what was the last thing you bought and how big is your TV screen, and I just bought a computer, and just focusing on material things that you bought. And on the other group, you were supposed to focus on experiences that you bought. So I just bought a ticket to the theater. Oh, I'm going now to a trip somewhere. I am going to do this. What do you think? Do you like traveling? Do you like to go and walk in the park? And the people that were just talking about experiences were perceived as being much nicer than the people that were only talking about material purchases. So piece of advice, if you're interested in dating and charming people, do not talk about the stuff you bought. Talk about the things you do rather than the things you have. Apparently it really works. So let's go to actual examples, because that's what we are here to do. This is the hospital in Bath from Norman Foster. And I mean, this doesn't look like a hospital, right? It's like, do you know this project? Does anyone know this project? So it's more like guests than actually a hospital. There are several things that are quite different. For example, the signage. It's not like you have here big signs for cardiovascular disease, go there. Maternity, go there. I mean, you will almost get so many ideas about how you can be sick just by reading the signs, you know? Wow, I didn't know that there were so many kind of specialities. So they just took all the signage away. If you're going somewhere, someone is going to guide you. Is going to go with you. And then you can have a nice chat about what's happening. And in the rooms are really nicely decorated. There are herbal flowers by the window. So whenever you open the windows, you have a really nice breath of the flowers that you have. And it's a really calming place. But the consequences of that is that people are more calm in general. And if people are more calm in general, it means that they have a lower heart rate. By having a lower heart rate, if they go to surgery, they're going to bleed less. If they're going to bleed less, they're going to recover much faster. So just the fact that you are in a nice, calm, cozy environment makes you get well faster and go home faster also. Just because you're more calm, and that has actual consequences for your body. So there's a lot of studies and research made on this hospital now, and it has been a very inspiring example when it comes to how an overall experience can really affect the end goal. And the end goal of a hospital is to cure people, to make them feel better, to make things work. So this is a project that I was working on. The image is a bit dark. It was the Nobel Nightcap, so the party after the Nobel banquet in Stockholm. This was in 2010. Yeah, so what we did, the Experience Design Group, so the masters in Stockholm, we were invited to design the experience for the party. So when people got in, they had this choir welcoming them, and they had these books, and then the books had printed in green and red, and then in order to read, you had to put a filter on top. So if you had the red filter, you could read the green text. If you had the green filter, you could read the red text. But not everyone had all the filters, so you would have to go and talk to people around you. Oh, can I get your filter or not? So it would be an excuse for people to talk. And you also had this in corridors, where if you would walk on the corridor with the red light, you could read what was there in green. And if you had the green line, then you could read what was there in red. And this text had hints of places and things that you could do during the night. So you could go to one special place where there would be some micro experiences, something funny happening. You could go to another space where you could taste something small and made from another person. So it was a way to map out the space and give people hints of things that they could do. And this is a party, so it can also be applied to more entertainment or... And the last example that I gave was about shopping. This is the Prada store in New York, and this was designed by Rem Koolhaas and the design agency IDEO. And I mean, this is a very interactive. So you go to the booth where you try your clothes, and it's transparent, but then you click on a button and then it becomes black. So then you can put on your clothes and click the button and show outside to whoever is waiting. And you have this mirror that has a 4-second delay. So if you're checking something, you don't need to be fighting with your back. You just turn around, and then when you look, you see your own back. That hanger system there, when you put the clothes there, they have a tag system, so it will tell you what other colors, what other sizes they have in store, what are the materials, what matches from that collection. So just within this space, you have a lot of information that you could use or not, but definitely adds to the experience of just going to a booth and put on clothes, or to have all these interaction happening. So how does this happen? Traditionally thinking, René Descartes, you know, I think, therefore I am, created a separation between what happens in your body and your rationale. What you think is what you are, and what happens in your body is separate into different layers. But actually, neuroscience has been deconstructing that idea and very much connecting everything that is happening with your body to how you think. So those are directly connected. This is what it's called homeostasis. Homeostasis is the fact that the human body can maintain itself automatically in a certain level. You know, temperature is automatically regulated, pH, bowel, the fact that we're breathing, etc. All these movements are emotions. We are emotionally commanding these operations. So most of it is like autopilot when you are in a plane. It just happens naturally. But some of them are reactions. If there would be a really big explosion right now, we would immediately be ready for running away, for example. Your heartbeat goes up, you are a bit more alert, you have a bit of adrenaline in your body, you are like, and that's an emotional reaction to something that happened. So these are the emotions. And what you have on top of this are the feelings. So what are the feelings? The feelings is our brain making representations of itself and giving feelings to it. Okay, there's a bomb there, it's just my first reaction, okay, my body reacts to it, how do I feel now? Okay, I feel scared. I feel scared as shit, you know? But then I'm rationalizing what my body was reacting to. So the feelings is what we are representing of our own body's reaction. Are we good so far? I have here a really good, so feelings. You are having a certain emotion and you react to it. The feelings that you have towards it. So now we can go. Are you guys okay? Do you want to have a break, or are you? Good? Okay, so now we have been talking about economical system, why this makes sense in terms of trends, why this makes sense about within experience economy and knowledge economy. So we are just putting this into a bigger framework. So now what can we actually do to work with it? Now let's go to actual examples. How can you work with it? What is it on experience design that you can relate to? So first dimension, there are 5 dimensions that you can relate to. First of them is sense. So working with the feelings on the most, basic dimension. How is it that we are, like right now I'm cold, for example, or now I'm warm, or so that you can work on the experiences on this and use that as a way to design whatever people are going to feel. So sense has to do with sight, sound, scent, taste, touch, so everything that is typically about. The typical example of a sense experience is an amusement park. You have all the lights, you have all the sound, you put your body into this woohoo 360 upside down experiences. I mean, that's quite strong. That's definitely sensing. This is the homunculus, and the homunculus is a representation, a scientific representation of the senses connected to the body, just so you have an idea what's more important, if we can say. So we have the nervous system. That nervous system is what connects the senses to the brain. So we have more nerve cells, especially in the face, in the lips, in the eyes, in the nose, a bit on the ears, the face, mostly in the hands, not so much on the back, neither on the legs, neither on the toes. So experiences are really engaging if you're working with senses that are related to your faces and to your hands. That's where you have more nerve cells. If you do something in your back, or actually it's very difficult, if you pin your finger with a needle, you know exactly where that happened. Your brain knows exactly where that happened. Even if you're not looking, you feel it, you know exactly. But if you do that on your back, the brain doesn't know exactly. It's around that area, but it's very difficult to know where that happens. A store that I think has been using sense to a super extent, I don't know if you have this brand in Russia, Hollister, is Albert Crombie Fitch sub. These brands, I mean, they are just... This is in the shopping center in Stockholm. So, you have the shopping center and you have all the stores with glass and you look inside and you see what's happening. Not them. So they built this kind of fake house. They do that in all their stores. So you have no idea what's happening inside. And they always, and they are all about this surf feeling, beach boys kind of thing. So whenever you go to this area of the shopping center, always, you start feeling their smell, the smell of their perfumes. It's really intense. And then you go there and you always have these super hot boys and girls in bikinis and in just shorts. Hello, welcome, can I help you? In this, they're very friendly, but it's quite intense. So you get in the store and then you don't see shit. The lighting is really bad, or actually really good, depends how you see it, because it's difficult to walk. You have these huge vases of plants, of fake plants, so you really need to and then it's quite dark, just a few focus for the t-shirts, so you're not really clear about what you're buying, and you are within this atmosphere, and there's always very cool music playing, and all the employees are having a good time, and this is their perfume. And I've heard from good source that they even pay for people to be on the queue to try out clothes Their profession is to be on the queue to try out clothes, just so it looks like there's a lot of people there trying out clothes, that it's a really super popular, they have huge queues. So, you know, all these elements, you have the people, you have the low lighting, you have the loud music, you have the intense smell. If you ever go have a possibility to go to a Hollister store, you should definitely do it. It's definitely an experience. Definitely. And very appealing to the senses.
May I ask a question?
Absolutely.
What for they are doing all that performance? As I understood, it's shop, right?
Yeah, they sell clothes.
And if they do, I understand that it's very interesting place, maybe very fun, but I think it's definitely not useful for buying something.
Totally agree.
So how they can be?
Totally agree. Well, their target audience is teenagers between 12 and 15, 16. So they are very targeted for a certain age. Me personally, okay, we're recording this, but me personally, I think it doesn't make any sense. It's really crazy. Why I would never buy something there. But apparently, for their target audience, if you are a 12-year-old kid that wants to fit in society, apparently you will love it. Somehow.
Okay.
Because they have, I mean, they're super famous. They're really, I've been talking, actually I had a teacher in the university, I was talking with her in the art department. And I was telling her, oh, have you seen this store? Oh my God, it's crazy, and da da da. And then I told her the brand, and she was, I know that. My daughter is crazy about it. She wants to go there all the time, and all her clothes have to be from there. And you know, so apparently it works very well. It's definitely a success story. Feel. So what I'm trying to do here is to give you different examples from different areas so that you don't need to focus just on the traditional store or on the traditional go to the hospital example. So feel has to do feeling has to do about creating a feeling for the brand, creating a feeling for your experience. How do you feel about it? How your brain is going to represent something related to it. So it can go from mildly moods, as in, you know, that's okay, into a really strong passion, into something that you really, great example, football or ice hockey in Russia, I guess. So you go to the stadium, it's a super strong experience, and you are deeply in love with that brand. You know, it's how you relate to it is in a very strong level. There's right now actually the same authors that published Welcome to the Experience Economy, Pine and Gilmore, in the Harvard Review. They also published another book later called Authenticity, where they argue authenticity as a new source of consumer sensibility. Just as you want experiences, but you want these experiences to be premium, to be differentiated, to be authentic, that you feel that you're not being used, but that it's something that is very meaningful. And you actually have this authenticity and this kind of feelings in different examples. One that I really actually like is the Obama campaign and the last elections. There was this big polemic about if he was American or not, where he had been born, because some people said he was born in Hawaii, and then some people said that he was born in Kenya, and there was this huge campaign, is he American or not? Ooh. So this authenticity, this feeling, is it authentic? Is our president as if, my opinion again, you know, if he is born on one side of the border or on the other, or it's still the same person. No. But the president has to be from United States. So, you know, Obama, where's the birth certificate? And in the last elections, there has been a lot of concern about the authenticity of the communication. Who manages your Twitter account? Is it really you? Am I really talking to you when I send you an email? Your Facebook, how authentic is it? And here is breaking news, the certificate comes, but even after the certificate was there, maybe it's not true, maybe it's an illegal certificate. And, yeah, there was a lot of... There's just 3 rules that they, the authors present. I just want to read this quote. Goods and services are no longer enough. What customers want today are experiences, but in a world increasingly filled with deliberately and sensational stage experiences, an increasingly unreal world, consumers choose to buy or not to buy based on how real they perceive their offering to be. So whatever you do is about being original and genuine and sincere and authentic. And they give 3 rules for you in your project to apply. If you're authentic, you don't have to say you're authentic. If you say you're authentic, then you better be authentic. And it's easier to be authentic if you don't say you're authentic. So those are basically the rules to achieve authenticity and to be perceived as such. Actually, this connection to the Obama campaign that I came up with, you should check it. There's a whole entrance in Wikipedia that is just Barack Obama citizenship conspiracy theories. And you have a whole Wikipedia long about all the conspiracy theories about Obama. Think. So we have sense, we have feel, and now we have think. This is how you relate to a brand, not from a feeling way, creating feelings, but from a rational way. So it's whenever an experience appeals to your intellect with the objective of problem solving, for example. It's a slightly provocative, and you are engaged creatively. You see something and you are creative about it. It's a bit surprising and intriguing. It's very common in tech products where you have something and then you think how to work with it. An example I have for you is the Double Club. I don't know if you heard about this project, Double Club. So Karsten Holle, that you see there in the picture, together with Reed Cram, created a double club that was in 2009. It was just for 6 months in London. And this double club had several bars, several spaces that were divided between Western traditional bar and Congolese culture. And this is the same space. It feels like this is a bit hard to see. It feels like it's a montage of 2 things, but it's actually the same space. The space was literally cut in half, and one side you have top-end design, like the breeding tables from Reed Cram, and on the other side you have plastic tables from Congo. And they were also, it was funny, they had on the dance floor, so here you can see maybe better, that there's here really, the floor here really changes, and then the floor here really changes again. So Western Congolese again. And actually on the dance floor, the place where the DJ was, It was a round booth that would move during the night. So if this side was the Western side, they would be playing Western music. And as he would be rolling to the Congolese side, then he would start playing Congolese music. So also the DJ was changing the kind of music according to where he was on the dance floor. That was quite crazy. You can see here a top photo. It's really dark. But you can also check more photos from the Double Club. And I mean, this is, once I asked Carlston, you know, I met him in a conference, and I was just very intrigued, you know, why Congolese music? What happened there? Well, I just like Congolese music. I went there on vacation 3 years ago, and it was really nice, so I thought it was, why not? And there you have it. ACT. ACT is, so it's 5 dimensions. We have sense, feel, think, act, and then we have one more. ACT is connected to the representation of future outcomes. So it has to do with lifestyles, changing a lifestyle, getting inspiration, using role models. Traditional example, fair trade food. You buy those things because you want to act on society and make it better. You want to make a difference. You want that your money is invested in a good way. This is Boom Festival in Portugal, and this is the only festival in the world that do not have any kind of sponsorship or advertising. In the entire festival, you don't see one single brand in a banner or anything. And they started in 2004 to develop a series of projects to make the festival completely sustainable. So the toilets are dry, being treated, everything that you use there is going to be recycled, all the money that goes in is reused for the area, etc. So I mean, this is kind of fun because this is a festival where there's quite a lot of drugs and trance music, and you know, you go there to have a good trip in another way. But you are actually being sustainable, and you're actually going against big brands, and you know, so you feel good about the fact that you're doing something. You feel that you're acting upon something. I'm not going there just to get wasted and dance and get laid, but I'm also going to save the world. So to have this kind of feeling, this extra layer to the experience that you're acting for greater goods. And then the place is really nice, actually. Relate, last but not least. So relate is when you can actually get together all these dimensions: sense, feel, think, and act. And the best brands do that. The best experiences have all these layers on them. And I'm sorry for my example and from being from Sweden, but I couldn't resist. I couldn't resist. IKEA is such a brand that they pretend to be a country. IKEA, design and quality, IKEA of Sweden. You go inside IKEA and you have signs in Swedish. Hey, all their objects have Swedish names. The food that you get there, the whole system is just amazing. And then the colors of the flag everywhere. This is in Israel. So, I mean, I thought it was quite a funny, you don't know how to read Hebrew, but it doesn't matter. You can totally, completely identify it. And then what's up with the food? with Swedish foods being sold in IKEA, Jesus, it's not that good, really. It's really like, it's not French cuisine or anything, but it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how good is Swedish food, which is not, but the fact that you sell it, you are adding this extra layer to the experience. You're actually relating to it in a very intense way. And then you have the names. Did you know that the IKEA names have codes? I actually just found out. Let me see if I can tell you correctly. So, beds, wardrobes, hall furniture have Norwegian city names. Dining tables and chairs are named after Finnish cities. Bathroom articles are named after Scandinavian lakes, for example. And that's also something that is a bit, well, it's not only Sweden, is they use names from Norway and Finland. But who knows the difference? No one, right? I don't. So then, you know, it's just all the same. You should try out, there's this actual very funny your IKEA name generator, where you put your name in your original language and then they translate that to Swedish and attribute a furniture element to it. So last time I was Торре and I was a chair, you know, it's kind of funny. Last time I went to IKEA, I went to buy a bed, and there was actually a guy sleeping in one of the beds on the display. He was actually sleeping there, just taking a nap, you know. And this kind of engagement with an experience, that you go to a store and you just decide and sleep there, this is something that, honestly, it's very hard to do, and very few people are doing it as well as IKEA is. And I guess their sales actually demonstrate that. So what's next? I just want to move on to the practical part of the workshop, leaving you this very a bit of a concern. Experiences are really powerful. Experiences can engage people in levels that it's very difficult to engage them otherwise. There was a study, for example, and therefore that's why I have here this this photo. There was a study, I can give you the name, John Barg, and he made a study where he asked students to assemble sentences. So they had just random words, and with those random words they would have to construct a sentence. So one of the groups of the students have just random words and they were constructing the sentences, and that was it. And another group, all the words that they had were connected to the elderly, without ever saying elderly, but they would say something as forgetful, bald, gray, wrinkled. And these students were having this experience in a certain lab, and then to follow the experience they would have to go down the corridor and go to another lab. And actually, the students that were writing sentences that were connected to these words, like bald, gray, wrinkled, they actually took longer time to walk down the corridor. They were thinking about elderly people and thinking about what it is to be elderly, and they were on that mood. And instead of just walking down the corridor normally, like their fellow colleagues did, they actually walked a bit slower. They were being primed by what just happened to them. So this is the power of experiences, is that experiences influence us to a level that we ourselves are not aware, we ourselves are not conscious. So there's really, really a lot of potential on working on experiences, for good and the bad, for the good, I hope.